Everybody!
What up? What up? What up?
My name is Tim Daniel. His name is Ben Brown. And welcome to this week's edition of Late Night Reds, brought to you by The Riverfront, part of the Blue Wire Media Network. As you can see, Ben is still figuring out his technicalities.
This has been wild.
Yeah.
Like, this has been so wild. And somebody unplugged my light and everything, so I'm trying to figure stuff out right now.
That's all right.
So what's going on, my man?
Oh, just sweeping this weekend against the White Sox.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That was pretty fun.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that today. New Bluey came out this week. I had to show some love.
Okay, man, you got to get me hip to the Bluey game.
Oh, that's right. Your kids are above the Bluey age nowadays. Oh man.
Yeah, what's up with the Bluey? I've seen. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen posts about it all weekend. New Bluey, but I'm like, just my kids are just old enough. Like, we're just out of that Bluey phase. So,
I would say you probably missed out. It's probably the best kids television show ever.
Really?
Yeah. I would go on we might lose some listeners over this, but I would go as far as to say like the message, the relatability of like how they tell the character stories, because it's like adults deal with like adult stuff and like trying to like protect their kids from adult stuff that's like scary in the world at times, but they also make it like very fun. So it's great, man. Definitely worth checking out. So yeah, there was that this weekend. We got some fun stuff to get to. Before we do get started, please make sure we take a second here and say thanks for Chad and Seth filling in for us last week. It was obviously WrestleMania weekend. Ben was seeing, I think, every college in America for Isaac. This is where he's going to go play in school.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild, strange trip, but it was awesome. We plugged it in.
Yeah. Chad said last week's show was way better.
Hey, Master Chad, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you for being here tonight. We love it. We love it. Thank you guys for last week. It was awesome.
It was awesome. I will say, I thought the show was really good. I listened to it on Monday. Seth had some spicy takes I don't know if I'd agree with about a couple guys that we're not going to mention their names. They're like Voldemort here at Late Night Reds.
All right.
But with that being said, those guys did an awesome job. So thanks again for filling in for us. We appreciate it. Let's get into the series, man. Let's talk about this White Sox series. So Friday, get a nice 11-1 boomstick. Homers from Elly and Tyler Stevenson, by the way, making some solid contact this weekend.
Yeah, dude. I was looking at that. I was looking at his numbers. Just the other day, or actually driving in today from Louisville.
We can see you now.
Dude, I know, it's crazy.
You're like John Cena.
Shout out to my daughter Lily for hooking me up.
What up, Lil?
But yeah, so looking at some of his bat speed, dude, and some of the contact he was making this weekend, like it's impressive. It was exciting to see.
I forgot to take not confirmed yet from the Sunday score off here. I was making this during the game, so that is confirmed. They did win 11-4.
Yes.
We will get to that here in a second. Yesterday, Nick Lodolo, man, like I text you that I took Lodolo under in strikeouts because they were saying stuff like, well, he's going to be on a pitch count, and I was like, yeah, he probably won't be in the game long enough to get 6.5 strikeouts. Hold your horses. I was wrong. I was very wrong. Not only did they let him go 5 2/3, he only had one hit. He had 9 strikeouts, and he looked incredible. I want to focus on Lodolo more in a second. Talk a little bit about today as well. So today, the good news is they do win 11-4. It is confirmed.
Yep, absolutely.
Strand hits a big homer. Martini, lefty on lefty bombskis. Graham Ashcraft, a nice bounce back after that Brewers series. That start goes 5 2/3 with 8 Ks. Unfortunately, Elly's on base streak ended today, but that's all right. Yeah. He'll start a new one tomorrow in Seattle at 9:42. Not 9:40. 9:42 is what time the game starts tomorrow. Did you see that?
I did see that. That's really odd.
Yeah,
It's really, really odd.
you have 2 extra minutes at Safeco to get to your seat if you're going to be in attendance.
Well, I mean, if you've ever been to Safeco, I mean, you may need those extra 2 minutes. It's a little crazy.
It's on my bucket list of stadiums to go to, man.
Pretty dope.
But after a disappointing series against the Brewers and obviously having one rain out, the get right series against the White Sox, I tweeted from the Late Night Reds account today because I saw there were some people out there making fun of the Red Sox. I mean, making fun of the White Sox, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's for Jackie Robinson Day. Okay, Sydney. I forgot tomorrow's Jackie Robinson Day.
Sydney, always clutch.
Yeah, that's why she's
always
here.
Clutch.
Okay, that makes more sense. All right. Well, like Ben said, if you ever go to Safeco, you probably need those extra 2 minutes.
Yep.
So, I definitely did not even think about that. I love Jackie Robinson Day, by the way.
I do too. I didn't realize that was tomorrow, but I do always enjoy that. Just with the history, everybody wearing the number 42.
Griffey started it.
He did. And Griffey started it. And it's a very just I don't know, dude. There's just something about that day where I don't know, it's very harmonious. Everybody's kind of on the same idea, same accord. And everybody understands the importance of that jersey of that day. So it's a really cool day.
And this has got me in some hot water. But I love 42. I think it's a great movie. I think Chadwick Boseman killed it in that movie.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't like his breakout role, but like that was like pretty incredible. So we'll talk. Actually, funny enough, in our last segment of the show, I have a great Jackie Robinson story I have to tell.
Okay.
It was my grandpa's for our final segment. So, Bob Griffey bobblehead also in Seattle. So, hey, any Seattle listeners, get in touch with me and I will buy one.
Hey, listen, I was going to say, I still got a couple connections in Seattle.
I forgot about that.
Like I say, I may need to pull some strings there. May need to pull some strings.
Oh, my cousin was just the NFL MVP for the Seattle Seahawks. No big deal, guys.
Man, I don't call that favor in much.
No, you don't.
Griffey bobblehead might be one I have to call.
Pat's
what
here.
Up, Pat? What up?
2 different bobbleheads. These people are just giving us all the deets. 2 versions. Wow. Oh my God. They're all right. Fine. I'm calling off work tomorrow. I'm flying to Seattle.
Let's go. Let's book it.
Yeah.
Let's book it.
All right. Let's bring this back in a little bit. Been a very exciting weekend, obviously. So, dude, obviously, just an awesome weekend, a get right weekend after the Brewers series, where they probably, just looked at times like not even competitive. The Brewers good again. It's very irritating.
Very frustrating.
I don't know if I'd buy the stock. Sorry to Ty Windish here at Blue Wire. I know you're a big Brewers guy, but whatever. So but this was kind of that thing. So what I was getting to before we got into this conversation, I tweeted I would make fun of the Chicago White Sox, but 2022 was not that long ago.
No, it sure wasn't, man. Yeah, like you have to be careful with that. I mean, you know what I mean? Sometimes when you play with fire scarecrow, it catches on you a little bit. So yeah, we have to be careful about what we tweet, what we say, things like that, so but
yeah, it was that was very surprising. But look, dude, let's kind of go through it. So obviously Friday, I bet right before the game, I bet Elly home run, thinking like Chicago, maybe the win's going to be in our favor. Bad team, right-handed pitcher. I was like, I like my chances. Sure enough, boom. I was like, I never hit the home run prop bet ever.
It's hard.
It's so the hardest bet to hit.
Yeah,
it's the hardest. Yeah,
that's the hardest bet to hit for sure.
I don't know. I was sweating LeBron over on points today because he was taking his time, and then all of a sudden he was like, "I got this." So
I'm LeBron.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, so Elly hits that homer, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, like I got my money, and this is gonna be a good day. Andrew Abbott looked great, and then granted, I know he's probably pitching to the Charlotte Knights.
But listen, hey, those guys are professionals too. They get paid. I mean, this is professional baseball. So
we talk about all the time.
So for him to come out and have an outing like that, And I mean, especially that's a key game for us, right? Coming off this Brewers series,
Mm-hmm.
we're starting off, and he has to come out and pitch well, and he did. He came out and threw a gem. I mean, it was legit. So not only did we have the sticks going again, oh, that's a great point. They played wonderful DLG. They were
We got to
all
focus on
over.
that, man. We
Yeah,
got
we
to
will
focus on
talk.
that.
Hopefully, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was a big game for us because we were coming off that Brewers series, and we, like you said, we needed to get back on track, and he pitched phenomenal. He had a great outing.
Yeah, he did. Then Lodolo, oh my god, dude, unreal. Just like, so I mentioned this like the last episode we were on before we took our week off, where I listened to Jonathan India talk about facing Lodolo in live BP. And he was like, dude, he's Chris Sale. Like, he's literally like, he is the replica. He is the 2024 version of Chris Sale. Like,
yeah.
And you're like, whoa, that's kind of crazy because he's like one of the greatest left-handed pitchers of all time, probably. Besides, like, I don't know. I don't have time to think about everyone. Koufax and Randy Johnson obviously pop up, but there's a lot more we can go through. And then I think Joe Farsing from Welcome to the Jungle was talking about how he just like laughs at like there's so many times you see Nick Lodolo highlights where a guy swings at a pitch and gets hit by it.
Yeah.
And like sure enough, it happened at one point yesterday, but 5 2/3 of one hit ball, 10 strikeouts, just looked awesome, man. Just looked like it was the thing they really needed to see. And he's gonna pitch Friday against the Angels, so we're gonna get Nick Lodolo versus Mike Trout.
I like it.
Yeah, very excited about that. We're gonna get to that later in the show, like I said. But man, just exactly what you wanted to see from him in his return start.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is that the expectations of Nick Lodolo are so high. Like it was so cool to see him just come in and do his thing. Like, I mean, that's a very tough situation to come into. You've been out 364 days. You come back in, you're making your start, no spring training. You got a little bit of the Louisville bat stuff where you got down there to get some work in, but you're coming in. And honestly, I feel like the Reds and that rotation, they had a lot leaning on Lodolo. Like, because they know what he can do. They know what he can produce. So for him to come in that situation, pitch the way he did, dude, he almost went a full 6 with one hit baseball, like off of 365 days off. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. And not only that, but his stuff was just nasty. I mean, just sinking in the dirt. I mean, everything was biting. Like he looked almost darn near untouchable.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially
10 strikeouts, just insane. Just oof.
Especially considering the hit was a ricochet off of a glove of an infielder.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that happens. It's baseball.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to today, obviously, before we move on. Kind of have something I want to run by you and get your thoughts on before we talk about the next topic. But Graham Ashcraft today, and Sadak made a really good point that I didn't think about during the show today, like he always does, because he's the best in baseball.
He's amazing.
He talked about, I guess, Graham Ashcraft's worst start of his career was last year against the White Sox, and they showed a stat line where he just had this abysmal game against them. He said, and then he faced him in spring training this year, and they beat him up again. So, to quote the Michael Jordan meme, I took this personally.
I took him.
And so he goes out there today, goes 5 2/3, 8 strikeouts. Looked at times like first inning was pretty shaky. I was a little anxious. I was like, oh man, maybe the White Sox are the Ashcraft destroyers. And then he settled in and looked really, really good the rest of the game until he got pulled from the game there. It looks like the White Sox were putting a little bit of a run together. But another thing where he looked awesome for 5 innings in that Brewers series, and then has that series where things just kind of fall apart on him. And so to see him bounce back after that and just like put that behind him was great. And I think that's where we're at with these young guys, right?
Yep.
We've talked about this forever. And I know a lot of people are really, really upset with Hunter Grant for this last Brewers game. I think Nate and Bill did a great job talking about that on the Riverfront Rage show on Friday. If you haven't had a chance to check it on this feed, they really do a deep dive into it, so we don't necessarily have to. But Also, looking at his baseball savant page made me feel much better because his expected ERA is way different than the ERA he's showing right now.
Gotcha.
In that Mets game, he was tremendous. So I think,
Yeah.
seeing these guys who have these bad starts that you don't, that are really kind of disappointing and I wouldn't say discouraging because they're still young still. But to see them put that behind him, go out and take the ball that fifth day afterwards and just kind of move on and do their thing. And I know there's going to be some people who are like, well, it was the White Sox. Like Ben said, they're paid to get hits. And
dude, absolutely.
All you can do is get them out.
Yep. And that's your job. And here's the thing, and I know that we've talked about this. I mean, you take Blake Snell, who won the Cy Young last year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know what his record was last year?
It was a losing record, technically, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
So that means that the Cy Young winner went out and technically lost more games than he won. And people are getting all upset because Hunter Green has a bad outing or Graham Ashcraft has a bad outing. Like, this is baseball. Like, it's baseball. Point. Like your best pitchers are going to have – and here's the thing, especially in this era, your best pitchers, your Cy Young guys, the guys that you're calling on to be, the guy that leads your staff, are going to have a 3.0 plus ERA, and they're going to have 7, 8, maybe 10 losses. So if they run out there 30 times and they're 20-10, they are considered elite. So if Hunter Green continues to right the ship and he goes 16-12 or 17-13, like, we can't expect all this kind of, just perfect pitching from him. Yes, he's going to have mistakes. He's going to struggle. So even you're the best of the best guys will have a struggle from time to time. So I think it is what it is.
He also got rocked today, like Snell did.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay.
So this is your
okay.
Like it's baseball.
So the year before is what you're looking at, right? He was 8-10, 22, and last year was 14-9. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking at too. And then today he goes back to Tampa and gets shelled. So it happens, man. Let's also never forget that Eric Anya won a Cy Young. All right, like, let's just go ahead and make sure we make mention of that. That happened as a reliever, which I guess should not be a thing. All right, I think it's been frozen. Do I got you?
Oh, there we go. Ooh-wee.
There we go. All right. Live podcasting, folks. All right,
yes,
we are good. All right, so a couple things I want to talk about before we get to talk about Elly. First things first. Branch made the mention. I want to make sure we talk about it. We got to talk about the defense this weekend, especially the outfield defense. They were incredible. Robin homers this week. Bubba Thompson makes that incredible slide. So many things that they did this week that were so impressive. Today, Will Benson makes a great play. Exactly what you want to see.
Another amazing catch. Yep.
Yeah, exactly what you want to see. So that was awesome. What did you kind of take away overall from the defense this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, we are having some technical problems, folks. Oh yeah, forgot about the Fraley drop today. That was not very fun. Scott made mention. All right, I think we're on the paper. We got you? We good?
Yep, we're
Bark
good.
Twice if you're in Milwaukee. All right.
Holy cow.
Hey, man. It happens. All right. Thanks for everyone being patient.
Wild tonight.
All right. So, I wish Chad was here for this segment, like on the show, because I think he's someone who would really be a really good person to talk about this with. And I'm curious your thoughts about it. So, the White Sox series, you got the Mariners tomorrow. You You got the Angels next weekend. I miss when interleague play was cool and it was rare. I really miss when it was like 2 weeks out of the season. You got like we got like the Guardians series or the Indians at the time, obviously, and then you would get like another division. I understand the world we live in. We probably can't do that anymore. But to me, like, this isn't as exciting. Like, with how much interleague play is going on right now in this new balanced schedule, what's the point of separate leagues? What's the point of the National League and the American League MVPs and Cy Youngs? Like, at this point, what point is it just like, this is the major leagues, this is the National Conference, this is the American Conference, we have one MVP, we have one Cy Young, we have one Rookie of the Year. Like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, everyone DHs, which I'm fine with. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. But, and I called into Ken Rosenthal's show 2 years ago, his athletic podcast, and there's to talk about the expansion for 2 expansion teams. And I asked on the show, I said, if they get an expansion team, they put one in the National League, one in the American League, would we go back to the interleague that we had in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it's 2 weeks out of the year, you see these teams? And he said, yeah, that's the game plan. So I'm just curious your thoughts. Where are you on this? Because I feel like I was at the first ever interleague opening day in 2013 when the Angels came to town.
Yeah.
And that was cool. You know, Mike Trout opening day. That's awesome. But overall, like, I don't enjoy, like, it. I don't think of it as interleague play anymore. I don't think it's like, oh, wow, we get to rarely see the Red Sox come to town. Now it's like you see the Red Sox every year. It's not as fun.
No, I'm with you on that one. When interleague started, I thought it was meant to be something where it was a special thing, right? Like you got to see, you know, you looked at the schedule, and like you said, the Angels come to town. Oh, great! I get to see Mike Trout. This is going to be awesome. You know, we don't ever get to see Mike Trout usually throughout the year. He's coming in town in, you know, July. I got to make sure I get tickets. But now you're like, it's kind of oversaturated. With the fact that you get to see those guys, I guess, kind of all the time. And, you know, it's kind of lost its mystique a little bit. So then why, like you said, why wouldn't we just make it one league? And like you said, you have a national side, an American side, one MVP, one batting champ, one I'm not understanding why it's becoming as, I guess, it's becoming just like, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of it because it's not special anymore.
Not at all.
It's not special anymore. So you might as well be the NFL, right? Like, just match your conferences and go play these guys, and then you have one MVP, one Super Bowl, one whatever. You know what I mean? But I'm not a fan of it because it's lost its mystique a little bit. And that was a cool part about interleague play before, is that you could have a guy come in, like you could have Aaron Judge come in if he's on your schedule that year, or you could have a guy like Mike Trout come in sometimes, you know, if he's on your schedule, or you know, Shohei Ohtani, or whoever the case may be, when Ohtani was in the American League. But you know, it made it special because it made you look at the schedule to see when these guys are going to be in. But now it's like it's definitely oversaturated, overused, and I don't know. I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of it because it's lost its mystique a little bit.
Yeah. So Branch makes a good point here on the counter argument, which is completely fair. I like being able to see more top tier players live, but it's definitely not as big of a deal. That's true. Like, it's great, and like you can see this more often. But to kind of go back to what we're talking about, and Scott has a good point. I'm going to show you here in a second as well. You mentioned the Yankees. So like, I remember, and you might remember this too. So 2011, the Yankees came to town.
Yep.
And this is when Jeter's on the 3,000 hit chase. He just so happened to be injured in Cincinnati when he was at 29.97. Right. Weird how that worked out, that they were going back to New York next week. Crazy how that just so happened to like work out the way it did. But Alex Rodriguez played, and you were like, oh, wow, cool. So you get to see the Yankees. And I remember that being so cool. I remember in 2000 seeing the White Sox come to town. And I was like, oh my God, I get to see Frank Thomas play baseball.
Yep.
How cool that was, because it was something that was so rare. And now it just felt like it's become this thing where, like I said, it's all one league now at this point. Like, there shouldn't be 2 Cy Young awards. We're going to go this route. And I know a lot of people will look at this. I've had this argument in the past, or people are like, well, that's just not the way the world works anymore. But look, let's be realistic here. Like, I'm gonna bring Scott's point on this conversation right now too. And I think the way you're talking about is kind of how you agree with me. He says this. What's the point of division rivalries? He's like, I moved to St. Louis. I only get to see the Reds 2 series a year now. Like, yes, that is 1,000%. So
1,000% true.
When do the Reds get a chance to get their licks back against the Brewers? The end of August.
I was going to say, yeah, it's almost towards the end of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, like, thank you, Pat. I love my bluey shirt too. It's a gift from Grace. So, but yeah, so the Brewers aren't back here till August. I got to play that double header then because of the rain out from Thursday, and it's like. It's so stupid.
Remember when the Red Sox and Yankees were hot and they played each other 9,000 times?
I remember. I don't like to give Marty Brennaman credit, but when he would always do the games where, like, when he was doing the games, he would read off the schedule around baseball on the nights the Yankees and Red Sox would play. He would always make fun of the fact that they were always Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. He'd be like, for the 9,000th time this season, the Yankees and Red Sox are going to play a 6-hour baseball game. And it was like that. Like,
it was.
That's the only time you'll ever hear me give Marty Brennaman credit on the show, besides being a Hall of Famer. Yeah, Pat, I never want to play the Brewers again. They're not even good. They're just annoying. I 1,000% agree with that point. All right, let's, oh my God. 04, the Sox and Yankees played 26 times. Is that counting playoffs?
Whoa.
I mean, yeah, because we know what 04 was. It's the comeback. It's
the comeback, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. A great 30 for 30, by the way. I don't know if Chad had that one high on his baseball movie list, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it does count. Here. So, Joey, when our division rivals have to play tough AL teams, I like watching them lose. That's true. I do. But the Brewers, what they lose? Did they hit 2 out of 3 from Baltimore this week? And I forgot to see. I know there was an argument. There was a bench clearing incident with 1 point. But all right, let's get back to the Reds here, and we're going to focus on this. So, Elly De La Cruz this week. All right, you guys like my terrible dad joke pun there for the segment? Elly had a helly of a week, right? I'll see myself out.
He said.
Yeah, I typed that up, and I was sitting next to Grace while I was putting the show together, and I laughed to myself, and she was like,
she shook her head.
yeah. All right, so I know he didn't get a hit. He didn't get on base today. Today he ended the on base streak, and yesterday he didn't get a hit. He just had a walk. But this week, 8 of 25, 8 runs, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 stolen bases, 1.254 OPS this week. Remember when people wanted to send this guy to AAA because he had a couple errors? Like, I don't know, 4 days ago. Look, we've talked about this. The theme that Ben and I have had more than likely this whole time since Ben's joined the show is just the maturation of the youth, right? And you're going to go through these stretches where they look wonderful and they look amazing. And you're going to go through stretches like this, like that Elly's having. You're going to go through the stretches he just had. Like, it's just how baseball goes. Baseball's hard. It's really hard.
Baseball's really hard.
But, dude, seeing him do this stuff, and I don't think he's going to do this forever, obviously, but I do think, like, this is who he is. We talk about all the time, like, if Elly De La Cruz even hits 4 of his 5 tools, he's the best player in the world. And we're seeing this now. Like, I don't think at this point, with his popularity, with putting up the games like he had here, and he's gonna have another couple stretches like this before July. I don't think it's far-fetched at this point to say Elly De La Cruz will be in the All-Star game, just because of his excitement, his popularity, his skill set, his talent. I mean, he's on Jordan Brand. He's in the new line of McFarlane action figures. You can get an Elly De La Cruz action figure right now. He also has a chase. Like, guys, this is a Cincinnati Reds player we're talking about here. I think that at this point, learning English, like City bring up, the fact that he's like doing his pressers like that. He was like, I just called my friends up to have conversations with them so I could hear what they were saying. I watched English movies with Spanish subtitles, so I understood. Was like, that's impressive as hell, by the way. Dude, like, all right, I could blush and talk about the wonderfulness of Elly De La Cruz all day, but you're also on the show too, Ben, so you should also probably speak a little bit.
No, listen. I could hear that all day because I know that we were both on the same accord. I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago about him getting on base and the excitement that he brings. And here's the thing that people have to realize: it's not just Cincinnati people that are noticing him,
Right.
right? Like the national media knows how good he can be. Brian Kinney, who I love,
Dude,
always sings Elly De La
the
Cruz's
man.
praises. Um, I mean, so it's national media, it's Jordan Brand, it's commercials. Everybody knows his potential and what he can be and what he's going to become. So that's the exciting thing about it. Um, and the cool thing about this is that we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah,
Like
right.
he's 22, man. Like the some of the things that he's able to do, and he's the one that some of those things you're gonna have to live with some of the negativities that comes with it, and the negative things that come with it. That's just part of being a 22-year-old baseball player in the major leagues. But watching him get on base, you know how hard it is to get on base 19 times in 19 consecutive games. Like
Yeah.
this is Major League Baseball. Like this isn't something where you're going out here and doing this against Double A and Triple A and farm hands. Like this is professional baseball. It is extremely hard to get on base that many times in a row. Um, and the things that he's able to do with the bat, he's starting to hit the ball flush again, making great contact, doing these other things. So he is starting to become everything that we want him to be, and he's only 22. It's starting to come. Things are going to start clicking, and I do believe, Tim, we're going to look up here in like June, July, and be like, "Jeez, Pete's dude, like he is phenomenal," and he will. I think he will. I think he'll be an all-star for sure.
All right, so I'm gonna get a little nerdy here with you. I've just pulled up Elly's baseball Savant page. Also, Pat just brought up Patrick Keelovhan, who was like one of my forever jokes about the lost era of the Reds. Like anytime someone discredits Joey Votto, I'm like, guys, Patrick Keelovhan protected him in the order. Okay, like let's just
Yeah.
go ahead and make sure we
Yep.
make it to that one year.
Yeah.
But so for those who haven't ever been on Baseball Savant, it's like my favorite site. Um, it's so awesome. So it kind of breaks down just like your percentile among current major league players and where you're at. Batting run value, 95%. He's in the 95 percentile. Base
Wow.
running value, 86%. Fielding run, 1%. That's whatever. That's going to happen with young guys.
Yeah.
Hard hit, 80%. Barrel percentage, 90%. Expected weighted on base OBA, 364. So also in running speed, no surprise, the 99th percentile. But that's what we call a good baseball player. Okay. Yeah. So, and that's what we call someone who's
no
like,
doubt.
when like Ben said, this is scratching the surface. This is not even like in 2028 when he's like been in the league for 5 years and he's figured it all out. It's like, holy crap.
Remember the excitement around Mike Trout? Like when he came to the majors, and I mean he wasn't Mike Trout that you knew, but gosh, you just knew he had it. And then those next couple years, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, this is the best player in baseball. Yeah. Like that's kind of how I feel about Elly De La Cruz. Like I think that we are just seeing some of the things that he's trying to put together, and once his like mental fortitude catches up with his body, because he does. I mean, he still swings at bad pitches. I mean, that's just part of being a young player.
Right. He also has the most insane strike zone because he's 6'5".
Correct. So I think that there are things that he's going to start learning more and more. Just being in games, right? I mean, it's just natural progression. And I just think that, like I said, I think we're just scratching the surface, dude. I don't even think that. I think right now he's, of course, one of the top players in baseball, but we are just now seeing just a smidge of what he can be.
Yeah, Scott mentioned in the chat, I guess, Greg Amsinger from MLB Network, also awesome at his job, has Elly as his dark horse for top 10 players right now after the end of the season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't think saying Elly De La Cruz is going to be starting in the All-Star game with how exciting he is too much of a hot take, right? I don't think that's like me like setting the world on fire.
No, and I think he's like you said, he's gathering that buzz from all over, right? It's not just Reds fans getting excited about who he is. Like the national media sees his potential. Jordan Brand, who just doesn't pick up just anybody,
Especially in
sees his
baseball.
potential. Right. Sees his potential. Um, I just think that I don't think that's a far stretch at all.
We're
I
gonna
don't
see
think
like
that's a far stretch at all.
Mookie Betts and Elly De La Cruz competing for the All-Star spot. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
nuts.
Yes,
Because
that
I
is.
don't know if you guys know or not, but Mookie Betts is really good at baseball. He's really good at baseball.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
That's like okay.
He's
I
phenomenal.
already did like a Mookie Betts love fest a couple weeks ago on the show. I
Yeah,
need to stop myself because he's just incredible and so fun to
he
watch.
is. He's phenomenal.
Um, yeah, I could do more Ellie conversation. We'll have all your. Hey Seth, what's up, buddy? Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, what's going on, Seth?
Yeah, Seth was really fun last week to have on with Chad. I thought that they did a great job. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this is gonna be really fun. So I hate to kind of like bring the mood down after the Ellie De La Cruz and that's the big smiles on our faces. But there are situations right now with this lineup that we probably need to discuss and just kind of get
Mm-hmm.
out there. So did I bring it? Okay, we're gonna do this to me now. All right, so 3 guys in the order right now who the Reds are kind of leaning a lot on or not kind of giving what we need them to do. And I just want to kind of get our thoughts on them and kind of see where you're at with
Mm-hmm.
these guys. Let's start Jonathan India at the top of the order. Look, the on base percentage is fantastic. He has been a walk
Yeah.
machine.
Yep.
But man, everything else has been a little worrisome. 275 slugging, not ideal. Candelario, you really saw in this White Sox series, the bat was kind of going a little more effective, right? Had
Mm-hmm.
smoked a couple balls, had that double yesterday. It looked pretty decent. It looked pretty decent this weekend, but 182, 246, 327 slash line, obviously worrisome. And then Christian Encarnacion Strand, and I think we should be fair when we bring this up that we can't say the things we just said about Elly and not put those with him as well as far as like the ups
Yep.
and downs.
Yep.
Had a homer today, obviously that was great, but 185, 191 on base, 308 slugging. Does have 2 home runs this year as well. But kind of want to get where you're at with these guys, kind of get your thoughts. I think one thing to point out that's kind of important about India, and I know a lot of people are really upset with what they're getting from him right now. And like I said, the walks are great. Like the walks have been his sole reason he's still hitting the top of the order. But I do think it's fair to mention that he's also been barely playing a month because he came back from spring training a little later.
Yeah.
The other 2, I am not really excited. I know they have not really blown me away quite yet. I do think CES is going to be a star. I'm not worried about that. But Candelario, obviously, I think is one where, and I think it was Stephen Offenbaker and Jeff said the other day on Locked On Reds, where it's like, look, he's going to play every day, so they need him to be fine. So I don't know if you want to talk about each guy individually, if you want to group them in your thought process here, but where are you with it? Do you have concerns about what you've seen from them so far? Or you're kind of like, we're like 15 games in, let's relax.
I'm a little bit of relax and see.
Sure.
I think what did CES start the season off at? Like 0 for 12 or 0 for
Oh, for 12.
0 for 12, right? So he started off 0 for 12, and he's started to gain a little bit of momentum. I'd be curious to see how many major league at bats, since he came up later in the year last year. How many major league at bats does CES have?
I can tell you.
And I was going to say if you can just find it here.
Hold on, I'm not interrupting you. I just have to make sure we give some love to Sabrina Dotson.
Hey,
we had a lovely time hanging out with Sabrina last year at the live show. It was such an honor to meet her. So want to make sure we say what's up to Sabrina. How are you?
Yes.
Welcome to hang out on the show anytime if your husband lets you.
Yeah, thank you very much. But okay, I'll go to the next 2. We'll find CES's at bats. So India for
282.
Me. So 282 at bats for CES. I think that's just a time thing. Like you said, if we're going to give the grace to Elly, which is a great point, we're giving grace to Elly. I I think Steer's just a freak. I can't even put him in the same category. I mean,
professional
he's
hitter.
just professional hitter. I think it'll come. The more at bats he gets, the more comfortable he's going to get, and I think he'll be fine. India, I think he'll be okay. If memory serves me correctly, I believe he is traditionally a slower starter. If thinking about it, I think he is, but I think that he'll be fine. I like the fact that he gets on base, he walks a lot, but I would love to see him make more contact at the top of the order. Candelario worries me just a little bit, and I will say this. The only reason why he worries me is the point that was just brought up. That guy has got to be better every day because he's going to be the starter every day. So if he is not better, in that lineup, then it makes everything. It kind of makes everything a little bit less effective, just because of the fact that we signed him to be a big time player,
right?
And he's got to be able to produce. Now, it is 15 games in. I don't know what he traditionally does as far as starting seasons. I'm not sure if he's a slow starter. I'm not sure what that is. I have not looked into his history. But in order for him to be the guy that we expect him to be and that we need him to be, he can't slash those numbers and be in the middle of our lineup every day and be a starter every day. So hopefully, we'll give it 3 more weeks, see where he's at from now, and see if those numbers haven't improved. I do think that CES's numbers will improve. The more at bats he gets, the more comfortable he looks, and I think that he will be better. I think India will be a little better, just on natural progression, because I think that he'll just be better.
Sure.
But Candelario, hopefully I think he'll hopefully get it as well. But he needs to be better. I think that's a great point with him being a starter and an everyday player, that we signed you for that money, not to come in and bat 182.
Right.
So you have to kind of you need to start getting it together.
Yeah, we have some really good points here. I want to make sure we bring in the chat before we move on. Scott brings up good rule of thumb: don't start panicking until May. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pat, we know there's power in his bat for sure, especially at Great American Ballpark. Ronnie, I really love this. Wait for CS to get in the groove. It's coming. Looks like Benson is becoming a star and future all-star. Friedel's possibly coming back sooner expected. Yeah, I
did see that.
1,000%.
Friedel's coming back.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree, especially on the Will Benson point. Seeing him kind of hit taters against lefties this week was pretty awesome, and drawing walks and everything like that. Sydney brings up April and May career 264 batting average for India. That's kind of more of what we expect from him, right? Is like those numbers. I think the walk's been great. He hasn't hurt them defensively at second base when he's been in there. I don't think he's there, but I'm with you, especially. I think they'll be fine. I think Candelario is good. I think the reason people are so disappointed in Candelario, besides the fact of the contract he got, which again is not a huge contract, it's just it's because he kicked our butts every time he played against us the last couple of years, whether it was in Washington or Chicago. He just killed us.
Yeah.
So we thought we were getting that guy. He hasn't necessarily been that guy yet, but I thought that it was kind of it's we got to bring this up because it's part of the process. On the pitch again, I don't want to really get into the whole thing with Hunter because, like I said, like we talked about already, but I think that we're going to kind of I really think the bullpen has been really, really good for the most part. I know a lot of people were really upset with Emilio Pagan, but I think he's been all right. Like I don't think he's really been super disappointing.
No.
Yeah, I think today with Justin Wilson wasn't great when he came in for Graham, but that's neither here nor there. Obviously, the TJ Antone, who sucks. It absolutely sucks.
God, that was awful, dude.
Yeah, but
and I don't usually get caught up in athletes and injuries, dude. But dude, you had to feel for him, man. There's just certain things, man, when a guy has battled back and he's battled back twice, and he goes out there, and the expectations for him were also at that level where we know what his stuff is and we know what he can do. And he threw that pitch, dude, and he stopped. I was like, wow,
Immediately.
Like I said, I don't usually get caught up in athletes getting hurt. I don't want anybody to get hurt, of course, but I'm like, dude, my heart just broke for him, dude. Like I felt horrible. I felt horrible.
Yeah, I absolutely did. But yeah, man. So I think that everything on their end, I think the starter's been awesome. I think there's been like one terrible outing where it was their fault, and but we'll move on from that. We'll be talking about that quite a bit. I want to get into the Seattle series. So as we learned, 9:42 is because of Jackie Robinson Day. I was not aware of that when I was making fun of it. Now I look like a butthole because I made fun of it.
Thank you, Sydney.
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. And then she said she tagged us in the bobbleheads from Twitter, but we're recording a podcast, ma'am. We do not play with our phones while we record. What kind of show do you think this is? All right. Like,
we are first rate.
Yeah. We're absolute professionals over here.
We are first rate here. This is
Chad, back us up.
Business. We are business here.
But the Seattle team has kind of been really disappointing for where they're at as well. Also been a really slow start. They're 6-10 to start the year. So Monday you got Frankie Montas against George Kirby. I know the numbers look really bad there, but realistically, if both guys do what they can do, that's gonna be a really fun game.
It should be really good.
Tuesday you've got Hunter Green against Logan Gilbert, and Wednesday you got Andrew Abbott against Bryce Miller on the go home game. And that is, I'll tell you what, I love these 4:00 games. I can't wait for that one. That game is going to be a blast. Seattle's offense, for those obviously have heard me talk, and we did this last year because Seattle came to town. What proof interleague play has become stupid and isn't a thing anymore. It's just Major League Baseball at this point. One of my favorite players in the world is playing for the Mariners currently, in Julio Rodriguez. Has not been good yet this year. Not been very good. So Julio, I love you. You're my guy. If you want to get hot next week, just hold up this week. Don't get hot yet. All right. Yeah. So let's see. Julio Rodriguez at this point, 186, 0 homers, 5 ribbies, 2 stolen bases, a 441 OPS. So keep that going for another week, and then be Julio Rodriguez. Okay, like just don't bring it to us.
No,
their top hitter so far has been Ty France. These are actually notes on my phone. It's not me just like messing around. He got picked off for the other game today too. So good news. I'm sorry, I forgot about the legend of Josh Rojas. Ben has actually been their best hitter so far.
Really?
How could I forget about Josh Rojas? Hitting 9th for the Seattle Mariners.
Wow.
Yeah. They brought in Gregory Polanco this offseason, and he has not necessarily lived up to it yet. But again, Jorge Polanco, sorry, not Gregory. And Luis Castillo, we miss him again this series. He pitched today. So Bob brings up this point, and I want to talk about it because it cracks me up. So remember when the Reds and Mariners exclusively made trades? So I've talked about this in the past, and it's one of my favorite things. So like I've always struggled with finding an American League team, which is fully going against everything that I just had this big rant about as far as like interleague play. But I think so my wife's family lives in Cleveland, so I love going to Guardians games. It's a really fun stadium, cool fan base. I really enjoy that. Quincy Wheeler, friend of the program, who's been on, he does the Guardians cast. But I think like for me, so listen to this. Like 5 of my favorite players of all time, the only one not playing is Joey Votto, have been Mariners at some point. It's just like weird how this worked out. So Griffey, Ichiro,
yeah, of course.
Randy Johnson's my favorite pitcher of all time. And it's very, very small print on his baseball reference page. But Ricky Henderson at one point was a Seattle Mariner.
He definitely was.
Very short time.
I thought you were going to say Jay Buhner. You're like, where did Jay Buhner? Which I love Jay Buhner. He's great.
I did love me some Edgar Martinez, dude. He could flat out rake.
Yeah.
He made the DH matter, right? You know,
yeah, he sure did. Edgar Martinez was legit.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Griffey Jr.'s winning run. We all know he scored because of Edgar Martinez's base hit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've always had guys I've always really liked. Obviously, the Mike Cameron deal. Mike Cameron goes to Seattle and ends up just being like a Mariners legend. Did you see that picture last week? Jim Bowden posted of him with Griffey and Mike Cameron. He's like, I traded these guys for each other.
No.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
I missed that one. Dang on.
Yeah. How can we ever forget legend Brett Tomko, former Red and Mariner? You know?
Yes.
We did this last week, a couple weeks. So opening day weekend, we did this with the Nationals and our whole chat.
Nationals.
It's starting this week with the Reds and Mariners. So, all right. So,
who we got?
Campbell,
let's go.
Luis Castillo, Eugenio Suarez, Jesse Winker, Dan Wilson. A lot of people forget Dan Wilson was a Cincinnati Red.
Oh yeah.
Mike Cameron, Brett Boone. Hold on, there's more. There's so many. God, there's so many.
Dude, Brett Boone was incredible there too.
Twice.
Yeah.
He started his career there.
Yeah.
And then, well, he didn't go there from Cincinnati. It was like he got traded to San Diego, then ended up there. It was like a weird thing. Kirk Casale was a Mariner. Yeah, because I remember when let's see, Kirk Casale was also a Giant because when Johnny Cueto went to San Francisco, Kirk Casale was his catcher for a couple of years. This first couple of years. Yeah, for a little while. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, just kind of like had like this pipeline between the Midwest and Pacific Northwest. You said Safeco Field's a really cool stadium. It always looks cool. Like it's a stadium I really want to see.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I don't know. I really like this idea of retractable roofs on baseball stadiums. I don't know. It seems like it might solve a lot of problems. Just me thinking out loud. So.
Yeah.
Here we go. Chris Negron. Totally forgot about Christopher Negron, former Reds legend, obviously. First base coach. Philip Ervin went to the Mariners? I didn't realize that. All right. You guys want to hear a really embarrassing Philip Ervin story? All right. So I don't know if you guys remember this. Chad might, because this was when I used to buck him and say, hire me at Red Leg Nation. I wrote for a website I ran in the early 2010s called BatesCheetahRun.com, of course, referencing the infamous Billy Bates versus the Cheetah. And I had a very lengthy article on that website. It does not exist anymore. Thank God. You guys can't hold it against me. Where I wrote a huge thing on why Philip Ervin was the future of the Cincinnati Reds and he was the next big thing to play Reds baseball. Thank God that article is not out there for anyone to find.
Whoa, Tim. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You talk about losing credibility. You read that, you would think this guy has no right doing a baseball podcast. Like, I was young.
People told me to say that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was like 22 when I had that website.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like RBI Baseball was like that was the one cool thing about the site.
I definitely remember that.
Yeah. Man, I missed that. But yeah, I thought Philip Ervin was gonna be real deal Holyfield. I was all in. But yeah, it should be a fun series. I think the Mariners are a team that have a lot of young talent who, they've had a playoff run the last couple of years, didn't go their way. Again, Julio, don't get hot this week. Get hot next week. All right, let us leave Seattle before you get going. All right. Yeah, but hey, we got a big chat tonight. We got over 500 people hanging out with us tonight, Ben. So,
sweet.
Very awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. But I did this on the show. I put this in our Slack. I did ask this on Twitter. And I don't think I got any responses. Let me check real quick. We're still allowed to call it Twitter, right? Oh yeah. Dude.
It'll always be Twitter to me.
All right. So Sydney, I did just see them. Those bobbleheads are incredible. All right. I love them.
Oh wow.
So I wanted to do a thing where obviously this week, and I talked about it a couple times, Mike Trout's coming to town on this weekend for the Angels series. Riverfront Red Show will dive more into the series matchup. They'll kind of discuss that. But I did want to get into just kind of, we talked about just like, he's one of those guys that when he comes to town, you got to get tickets. He's just that dude. And I've been lucky now. I've seen Mike Trout in person twice. This will be my third time going to Friday's game. 2013, like I said earlier, I was at the very first interleague opening day when the Angels came to town that year. Albert Pujols still got booed, even though he was playing for the Angels, and he was awful. He was a shell of himself with the Angels. But I saw Mike Trout. And then I was at the 2016 All-Star game in Cincinnati. And I told Andrew Williams in our Slack chat I was going to tell this story because it's a hilarious story. So I'm there with our buddy, Carlo Jorge. Carlo's the one who got us hooked up to have Jumbo Diaz on the show. One of my best friends, was one of my grooms for my wedding. Really good friend. Carlo just so happened, because he's from the Dominican Republic, to be related to Jose Rio. He's also related to Juan Marichal somehow. That's a whole other story. I could have Carlo come here and tell his family tree. It's hilarious. But he's related to Jose Rio. And so no clue. Like, they don't talk all the time. It's just kind of, hey, how you doing? You're doing good. Good to see you. Nice to see you. Whatever. So we're sitting there and we're in right center field because we're right by the stacks in the All-Star game. And who else but freaking Jose Rio and his family come and sit right in front of us at the All-Star game. Right out there. I'm like, the World Series MVP is sitting with the people?
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. We had a moment where we got to talk to him, and that was really cool. I actually dressed as Ricky Vaughn. I went full on Major League gear that day. And I had people who really thought I was like an Indians fan. They were like, how dare you wear that here? I'm like, guys, first off, it's the All-Star game. Second,
pump your brakes.
Yeah. Second, this outfit's dope. I'll find the picture and I'll post it on the Late Night Reds Twitter account tonight when we get done recording.
Oh, that's funny.
But the point being, so Friday will be the third time I see Trout in person, but in the 2016 All-Star game, he led the game off with a solo shot and ended up winning All-Star game MVP that year. And so seeing him in person he's just one of those guys. So I got like 4 or 5 answers I want to make sure I get to. But this segment's just like, and if you're in the chat and you want to throw some out, please do. We'll read them off. Just about like the guys that, even though they were playing your favorite team, you had to see play in person. So I mentioned earlier, Julio Rodriguez. I saw him play last year in Cincinnati, and it was awesome. The Reds won and he homered. Good day for me. So,
there you go.
And one story I really wanted to tell, and this is my grandfather's story. So my grandpa is late 70s. So his childhood was Crosley Field. Mm-hmm. And my great-grandpa took him to Crosley Field to see the Brooklyn Dodgers. I think you kind of know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So, and he tells the story. This is like the end of Jackie's career. This is like 54, when like he's starting to slow down. He's not the MVP caliber player anymore. He's just kind of, he's still a good baseball player. He's just not that guy. So the story my grandpa tells, and I couldn't find the game on Baseball Reference, but I fully believe this, is he hits the ball in the gap, and whoever was the Reds center fielder at the time fields the ball in the gap. He's rounding first, coming to second, and whoever the Reds center fielder was chucks it, gets him out at second base. And when Jackie like brushes himself off for being out and walks to the dugout, my great-grandpa looks at my grandpa and says, 3 years ago, he might have been standing at home plate. So, like, yeah, you saw the end of Jackie Robinson, but you saw Jackie Robinson. So I always thought that was kind of a really cool story. And I'm going to get to my own, but I just want to make sure I'll get to the chats first. I mean, I'll read the chats, but I want to make sure I get to our Patreon list of subscribers as well, which you also can be one of those. So Brandon Kamek, good friend of the show, went to a doubleheader in St. Louis and saw Griffey hit a couple bonds, but McGuire was out at the time. Did get to see him take BP while trying to shake fly balls in the outfield. I saw McGuire in 98 during the chase. Did you?
Yep, I did too as well.
Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Just seeing all the flashing lights of Riverfront at the time. Brian Bowdy, and Brian, if I got your last name wrong, I'm really sorry. Greg Maddux. He looked like a bored GV assistant coach when we got in the bullpen, and he got knocked around that game, but still one of the greatest. So the pictures at Great Americans. This is probably his second run with the Braves, I'd assume, by the picture. I loved Greg Maddux. Sydney last year saw Aaron Judge.
I saw Aaron Judge.
I've seen Aaron Judge
at Yankee Stadium last year.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was legit.
Kevin Lynch, good friend of the show, saw Dion.
Oh,
before the Reds, if I'm reading this correctly. I also mentioned Kenny Lofton. I saw Kenny Lofton the first interleague series the Reds had. No. I'm sorry, I have that wrong, because that was the year he got traded for David Justice.
Okay.
And then he went back to the Indians in '98.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then Mike Perry, who's been on the show, mentioned he saw Mike Trout. His was Mike Trout as well. It was a great game. The Reds won. Luis Castillo struck out 13, and Mike Trout hit 2 home runs.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I had red season tickets for a long time, so like you saw these guys all the time, and you definitely looked at the schedule, see who was coming, like we talked about earlier. But some of my favorites I wanted to mention, and I'm going to get to the chats as well because there's a lot already.
Oh yeah.
2002, I saw Randy Johnson pitch at Riverfront the last year.
Oh yeah.
And seeing a man that huge in person was very shocking. But dude, like, still got it. It was like a 2-hitter. I think the Diamondbacks won like 7-2, but the 2 Reds hits were homers, and it was neat because Griffey was healthy at the time. So I actually got to see Griffey versus Randy Johnson. Did not go Griffey's way, but still, it was cool to say I got to see Griffey versus Randy Johnson. I did get to see Derek Jeter. That was like one of the ones that like really bummed me out. But and I didn't get to see David Ortiz because when the Red Sox came to town, he DH'd, and so he got those days off.
Oh man.
Yeah, I saw Miguel Cabrera during the Triple Crown year. That was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. Because they played here on Sunday Night Baseball that year. They played Cincinnati. And they had a comeback one that I don't like to remember. But I think the one, so those were a couple of them that I really was like, but so I mentioned seeing McGuire. Seeing Sosa that year was also just as exciting because they were in the chase, and dude, those guys were awesome. But just so many guys that you got to see, but I just wanted to, I thought this would be a fun segment. Who are some of the guys that you kind of saw coming to town that you were like, dude, that guy's coming here? We gotta get tickets.
Yeah. I think my favorite one was probably Bonds.
Yeah. Josh brought him as well. Josh Beckley mentioned him.
Yeah. Seeing Barry Bonds was really cool. Just because he was one of my all-time favorite guys. I mean, he was just a lot of fun to watch. I'm trying to think. I think, dude, it's been so long ago. I want to say I think I saw Smoltz when he was with the Braves pitch against the Reds one time. So Smoltz, out of the 3, Smoltz is probably one of my favorites. He was my favorite one out of the 3. Like, I love Greg Maddux. I thought Greg Maddux was incredible, but Smoltz was my guy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Of course, when Griffey being a Red, I mean, Griffey's everybody's favorite player. So I mean,
right. Yeah.
I mean, he was phenomenal. But yeah, those would probably be a couple of my favorites. I'm trying to think of when I was a kid. It was so long ago. I want to say that I saw Nolan Ryan when he came to Riverfront, but
he was with the Astros.
Yeah, dude, I was like 7 or 8. I wouldn't even have known that. But I mean, I remember seeing some of those teams come in. I mean, that's when they had Nolan Ryan, Mike Scott, all those dudes. Like, they were phenomenal.
Yeah, I was a big Biggio fan.
Yeah,
I think it was because of the helmet thing where he just like rubbed the pine tar on it.
Or the pine tar on it.
Yeah. But that kind of lost its luster when they switched uniforms, and he did it with the new logo. So that wasn't as cool.
Yeah. But like, I think somebody mentioned too, like Mark McGwire. Like, Mark McGwire was always fun to come in because he would just hit freaking tanks.
Yeah. I saw him. Yeah. So I saw them both during the chase. I wasn't at so Sosa hit 63, I want to say, at Riverfront. I wasn't at that game, but I saw him earlier in the summer.
Gotcha.
By the way, a lot of people seem to forget the Cubs made the playoffs that year and the Cardinals did not, but no one cares because
nobody cares.
I was going through old tickets the other day, and I actually found, I guess I saw the Giants in 98. I don't remember the game at all, but I looked it up on Baseball Reference and Barry Bonds went like 2 for 6 that game with a homer or something like that. So of course, but couldn't tell you anything about it. My first game I went to that I remember, I think I might have told this story. It's a funny story. So, for those who don't remember, in 1997, there's a lot of younger folks here. Ben and I are even pushing the age point here. We were very young dudes. Ruben Sierra was a member of the Cincinnati Reds for like 40 games. Was not long. I went and watched them play the Phillies. Starting pitcher that day for the Philadelphia Phillies was Curt Schilling, who I like to remember Curt Schilling as a good pitcher and not the human being he's become, even though that's a struggle because he's not a good human being. But that's not we're not here for that kind of podcast. he had like Ruben Sierra had one great day as a Red. I started to be in the seats that day at Riverfront Stadium when he hits 2 home runs off Kurt Schilling.
And you were there.
I was there.
You lived it.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. But that was back when like I didn't know anything about baseball players. I just knew what their baseball cards were. And I was like, oh yeah, Kurt Schilling, he's really good. Yep. And yeah. Everyone saw I was at the Ricky Karcher game. There's a lot of people comments here. Dude, I gotta get out there. I gotta see the Royals. I gotta see Kaufman, and I gotta go to the Negro League Museum. I haven't done it yet. It's like I have to do it, dude.
That would be. Awesome.
We should go. We should do it.
We should. We'll
do a late night Reds live from there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be dope?
That would be incredible. Yeah, that'd be incredible.
I'm gonna send an email tonight.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
We probably won't hear back, but
no, we probably won't. But that's okay.
I'm gonna sign it from Chad Dotson. Chad apparently was there last year and poured it. So, oh my God, Seth brings up. I was at the Dion home run game in 01. His first game back. Do you remember they went like 4 for 4?
Yeah, he went 4 for 4. Yeah,
I think he had 4 hits the rest of his time he was on the team. Oh man, so we're not even getting into like my favorite Reds games. It's just like those games.
Yeah.
2010. I remember I was at a game. The Reds won 3-2. They were playing the Phillies, and Roy Halladay threw a complete game, and the Reds still beat him because
lost. Yeah,
Votto and Bruce hit solo shots off him to take for the win the game.
Yeah,
in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. Of course, he got us back, and we like to block that game out of our memories. But
he was so good, man.
Yeah. So let me see if make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't like when people contribute to the show. I don't like to leave people hanging.
No, I got you.
So if there's any here, so I got to watch Shohei and Chop beat the Cardinals last year from my work suite.
Oh,
that's pretty dope.
That's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. Josh Barry Bonds for me. I think that's pretty common. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember loving Greg Vaughn before he came to the Reds.
Yeah.
You remember in '98 he was on that Padres team that went to the World Series.
Yes, absolutely.
Him and Tony Gwynn. I did see Tony Gwynn. Okay, I just came back 2000 because I remember I broke my collarbone and I was trying to get a ball from him. He would not give me a ball. And I was like, that broke my heart. Like, my dog. I am like,
come on.
Yeah. But he also went 3 for 5 that day with no strikeouts because he's Tony Gwynn.
Because he's Tony Gwynn.
Yeah. So Pat just brought up, okay, we don't talk about Travis Kelce here. This isn't Us Weekly. This is Late Night Reds. All right. Can we just make sure that we get this out there? Yeah, I didn't. Did you go to the New Heights pod, or were you guys Santa Monica University that day?
I was going to say we were no. I've not been in Louisville all weekend. It was daddy daughter volleyball weekend.
Oh, nice.
So we were doing
any sightseeing?
Volleyball tournament. A little, not much. We would get out just in time to miss the Bats games. So so it was like, oh man, I gotta make a Bats game. Nope, missed it. So but no, we were down there all weekend. We did lots of volleyball. So
okay, I was gonna say, this is weird.
You got a lot to look forward to, Tim.
I get that.
Days in the gym.
So this is like a weird thing for me that I don't, a lot of people think I'm silly because of my age for this, but I'm a huge Muhammad Ali fan, diehard. Hey,
I went to his childhood house.
Oh, really?
2 years ago, smack dab in the hood. So funny story. So we're driving, right? And you can put it in Google. It pops right up. So we're like, all right, we're driving. We'll make a right turn, left turn, right turn. You get down there. You're like, oh my gosh, dude. I mean, there's hood dudes everywhere. We're like, kids, roll the windows up. Driving through. And it's a pink house. The house is pink. So we looked, we're like, should we get out? No, we're not getting out. Just keep going. So we roll right past it. But it's pretty cool to see his old childhood home. It's pretty neat. So
the thing I was going to say is I went to I think the museum is the coolest thing. If you're even if you're not necessarily he's not your favorite fighter of all time, which if you're my age, he's probably not, because UFC is so popular. But like seeing that is so neat. And I know that's a conversation for a different time. Bat Museum's really cool too, if you haven't done that before. I was here the day they were making Joey Votto bats.
Cool. Were you really?
Yeah, that was kind of neat.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the Bat Museum's really cool.
All right. Funny Bat Museum story. And I promise we'll end the show because we're just telling funny things now. All right. So for those who don't know, if you go to the Little Slugger Bat Museum, they actually have a batting cage in there where you can use replica bats of major leaguers. Mm-hmm. So I was like, cool, this is neat. I want to try this out. So I get in there, and mind you, I am a baseball podcaster, not a baseball player for a reason. Doesn't matter. I know we had Jackson on here over the holidays who runs D-Bat. I need to go in there and get some swings in and get my stuff back. I don't know. I might rip like my hip off my body if I go swing a baseball bat now. But so I'm like, cool. And so I'm like, who all do you guys have? They're like, so. They're like, we have Jim Tomei, we have this guy, we have Brandon Phillips. Like, okay. Well, I'm left-handed, so I'll try the Jim Tomei bat, thinking like that correlates. First 9 pitches, I miss. I'm like trying. Like, I don't know if I just like, I'm like, and so the 10th one, I finally make contact. I'm like, cool, awesome, make contact. Broke the bat. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. Walk in, got to hand the thing back to the guy. And I'm like, hey, man, really sorry. He's like, oh, whatever, man, it happens. So I was like, can I do another round? Like, sure, whatever. And it's me and a bunch of my friends. And so I get the Brandon Phillips bat, thinking like, it's probably lighter. I could probably swing it a little easier. Mm-hmm. Phillips was like, this is like 30-30 era Brandon Phillips, right? So you feel pretty good. Same process. Missed like the first 8. I looked like that guy in Trouble with the Curve that they're like, all right, throw him the curveball. And he's like, yeah, wasn't good. 9th pitch. Made contact. Broke the bat again.
No way.
So as I leave the cage, everyone in the lobby is just sitting there looking at me. And I like open the door to get into the lobby and I'm like, and they said, you're not going to be allowed to ever do this again.
They shut you out?
They said, for the rest of your visit, you cannot go in the cage.
It's not your fault they make poorly made bats. I mean, what the heck?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, cheese or Pete's.
But that's just a story I had to make sure I told because it cracks me up.
You went in there and broke 2 bats. Oh, that's awesome. Right.
Final run through comments before we get out of here first and get everyone ready for the week. Ronnie brings up, I got to see Pete Rose, Joe Morgan. So he saw the machine on one game in 76. Please try to top that list. You guys saw one game. Other than 2016 All-Star game, my dude. I saw the world's best. That's the closest I got.
I was going to say, can't mess with that.
Seth, I think I was actually at this game. Frank Thompson, Carlos Lee, and Magglio Ordonez destroying the Reds. I think Steve Parris pitched that day. I think I was at that game. And then Josh, I met Ali at the Castle Square Mall in Indy in 86. I was 10. My pops emphasized how cool it was to meet him and what he did. He had 2 bodyguards with him. Totally believe it. And yes, Scott, 100% right. I knew it was coming. I still couldn't hit it. So,
story of the baseball life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Baseball's hard, okay?
Baseball's hard.
That's the point of the show this week. Baseball's hard. Hey, with that being said, this is like the biggest live audience we've had. I know everyone's excited with the sweep. We're excited too. Thank you guys. This has been really great.
Awesome.
Last couple of weeks with the season starting, us getting picked up by Blue Wire for the whole network has been great. And you guys obviously supporting us every week, just like, I don't know if we're just like the thing that helps you get rid of your Sunday scaries before work starts, but whatever it is, we love having you guys here. You make the show fun. You bring great insight, great conversation, ask awesome questions. Like, we're very grateful. But before we get out of here, I got to make sure I do my plugs. Got to do the whole, business thing. Make sure you check out Welcome to the Jungle with Joe and now Parker Fields.
Hey,
Parker, now part of the Bengals show, hanging out with Joe. So they should have a new episode this week as we're getting closer and closer to NFL draft day.
Never stops, man. The machine never stops.
For the Riverfront U listeners, we're going to do NBA Friday early this week because we're going to be previewing the play-in. LeBron James had another insane basketball game today, so we got to make sure we talk about it. Your Pacers have a very fun first-round series. That's going to be Really looking forward to that series.
Yeah, it should be great.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of get into that. Obviously, Riverfront Red show, Chad, Nate, and the crew. Their show last week was great. Nate and Bill did the Pyramid of Red's Greatness, which in my head, I know they're saying Pyramid of Greatness, but for some reason I kept thinking of Bud Light's Real Men of Genius.
And
I know I was wrong, but it was like take it off. I couldn't get it out of my head. It just like kept thinking like Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius with the lead singer of Survivor.
Real Men of Genius.
Yes. Yes. So I had to make sure I wanted to get that in. But check out the show. I think the conversation's awesome. It's definitely worth it if you're a Reds historian. A lot of fun as well. But hey, on behalf of everyone in the network, thank you guys so much. We can't wait to talk about hopefully a nice big wins against the Angels next weekend and getting you ready for the Phillies series the week after at GABP. But hey, on behalf of Ben, this is Tim Daniel. Everyone, thank you so much. Have a great week. We will talk soon.